Is this the best batch yet? Today we're taking a look at Larceny Barrel Proof batch B522. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Hutch, and thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. So that is right. Today we are taking a look at the most recent release from Larceny Barrel Proof, and that is batch B522. So if you are not aware, this is a Heaven Hill product released 3 times a year, just like the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof line, but obviously this is Larceny, which is their wheated bourbon line. This particular one is the second release of 2022. So B just means second, there's A, B, and C. The 5 is the month, so it was released in May, but sometimes takes a little bit longer to hit certain areas, so I was just able to get one of these recently. And then 22, obviously 2022. So let's just quickly take a look at the stats on B522. So it's the Larceny mash bill, which is 68% corn, 20% wheat, and 12% malted barley. Proof on this one is 123.8, which is 61.9% alcohol. That's relatively high for this brand, but the recent ones have all been sitting in that sort of 120 to 125 range, which I think is a really nice proof. It's a good barrel proof and provides a lot of flavor punch for sure. So overall, Larceny's been around for a couple of years now. We've had about probably a dozen batches at this point, and they've been relatively hit or miss for most people, though it seems like it's been hitting its stride recently. The C921 might even honestly have the #1 spot right now for favorite bourbons I own. But I've heard great things about the A122, which I wasn't able to get a bottle of, but do have a bottle of this B522, which again has gotten really good reviews, and I've had a taste of it. Let me just tell you, spoiler alert, it's pretty dang good. All right, before we dive into the nose, palate, and finish here, just want to ask that if you're liking all the content coming out of the channel, hit that like button, and then hit that subscribe button too. I've now got the goal to try to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2022, and I'm planning to do a fun giveaway once we get to that point. So smash that big red button, subscribe, and that also just helps me know what specific kind of content to keep creating for you guys. All right, without further ado, let's get into this Larceny Barrel Proof. All right, on the nose, everybody. Yep, ho ho ho, baby. Caramel for days. I am not joking. When I first cracked this open, I couldn't believe the amount of caramel on it, and it's had even more time to open up, and man, it's just this, like, right at the center is this gooey, liquefied, chewy almost caramel that you can sense on the nose. The best way I can describe it is those caramel chew candies with the little white vanilla sort of cream in the center. I mean, it smells like that. It's just so prominent, this caramel note on here. And then underneath that, there's a good oak presence as well. Wrapped around it, there's some cinnamon and even like a hazelnut or some sort, maybe a little bit of peanut, but honestly, it leans more like a hazelnut or something like that for me. And then there is like a potential dark cherry note in there too. The more I let this open up, the more it gets a little bit like maple syrupy too with the caramel. But overall, I mean, it's just hard to deny that that like caramel chew, caramel candy note is like so prominent and really good, really inviting. I'm a big caramel guy, love caramel in a bourbon, and this has it in spades. Let's see if all that transfers over to the palate. Cheers, everybody. Wow. Okay, so first, I would just note that the caramel is certainly there. It's not as pronounced as it is on the nose, and the palate is really much more well balanced. There's also this like blooming cinnamon spice that goes around the entire thing. Good little touch of oak in there, maybe a touch of chocolate or something darker like that. Vanilla presence as well, but that cinnamon, caramel, vanilla combination is just, it's really nice. I will say the mouthfeel is really nice too, coats the palate and the tongue really well. Really exceptional tastiness there. It's just such a great sipper. I would say that the 123.8 proof does not drink like that at all. That's my first sip of bourbon for the day, and I feel like that went down as easy as like 110, 112. So really already shining through, but let's see if we can get some more flavors on the second sip. Cheers, everybody. All right. Wow. I think everything pretty much stayed true to the first sip. A couple more notes I could pick out there. A nice like barrel char presence on it, and a touch of nuttiness. Not an overwhelming amount, but a good amount underneath all those other layers. Just to remind you that it's a Larceny product, it's a Heaven Hill product. It's got a little bit of nuttiness in it, which I really enjoy as well. And then the finish, as I'm letting it linger, it's going a little bit darker, maybe like a coffee bean kind of note, but that caramel's lingering too. Really, really nice. In fact, let's go in now for the third sip and evaluate that finish and, you know, discern how long that lasts. Cheers, everybody. Okay, yeah. That finish, it's got that lingering cinnamon spice, a little bit of like darker brown sugar sticking around, caramel notes. It's not particularly, I wouldn't say the finish is the sweetest. I would say it goes more dark and rich, which is nice because the front and mid palate's sweeter. You get the front palate, the sweet caramel, vanilla, mid palate's like that blooming cinnamon spice. Finish is like a darker, richer experience with some of that spice sticking around. Really, really tasty. I'm gonna go back to the nose here just because, man, I could smell that all day. A lot more cherry coming through, dark cherry on this now. But that caramel chew experience is just, I've never had a bourbon that just so fully displays that caramel vanilla core that a lot of bourbons have. It's just so pulled out and so pronounced. Really, really nice. Wow. Well, I am probably going to have to compare this B522 to the C921 to see which one comes out on top. So look for that video in the future. But on its own right now, the B522, absolutely spectacular. Totally knocking my socks off. Again, in that category, one of the best bourbons I've ever had. There's not so much wheated barrel proof stuff out there, and really happy that Larceny seems to really be hitting its stride now and coming out with some great products. This is a $60 bottle now. It actually used to be $50 MSRP, but they bumped it up to $60, which, given the current market and inflation and stuff, makes sense. I think it's well worth the $60. This is another sign that I'm pretty much just gonna get whatever Larceny Barrel Proofs I can get my hands on and see what my verdict is, because if they can hit at this level, man, they're pretty much always worth the pickup. All right, I wanna hear in the comments below what your experience has been with B522 so far from Larceny Barrel Proof. If you've been able to taste it, what did you think? Do you think it's as good as I think it is? Is it one of your favorite batches? Do you like another batch better? Want to hear in the comments below what your opinions are so far. I think that about wraps up everything I have to say about Larceny Barrel Proof batch B522. Man, that caramel chew note is just so spectacular. And boy, am I glad I have a bottle of this on the shelves now. Until I see you guys again for another video, all I can say is keep drinking really good whiskey and cheers.